Late August, evening sunshine. What could be nicer? Welcome back to my garden. I've got so much to do because it's been a really difficult year this year, and I haven't got 1/10 of the things done that I wanted to get done in the garden. So I've got to slow down, plan out and get things done properly. But there are quite a few things I've got to go through in today's show with you. I started to repair the polytunnel right early on in the year. Well, today I'll show you the finishing work on getting that actually done. I'll show you the work I'm doing on what used to be the memory garden, which is now going to be our ornamental area of the garden, and the plans I've got going forward on there. And I've started, and I will get that done very, very soon. There's a lot of tidying, pruning, cleaning up and everything else associated with this time of year. Things like the buddleias here, which I need to take down by at least a third so they don't get damaged in the winds that we're going to get during autumn. So there's lots and lots of things I need to do. So I look forward to sharing those with you in today's show. So hey, welcome to September in the year gardening. Well, this year has really shot past, and I can't believe that I still haven't finished repairing the polytunnel, but I've started making the frame for one of the doors to go on the front of the polytunnel, and so I thought I'd just share that a little bit with you now. Can't believe it's just about coming into autumn and I haven't got anything done this year. Anyway, I've cut and prepared this, and I've just got this little bit more to do, so we'll just pop a little hole down here so we can get the screws in nicely. And so what I do is I just square this timber up and I'll drill this just gently there. Then I'm going to countersink the top with a nice boring bit here. There we go. Just countersink that to take the screw in. Put the screwdriver bit into the drill. Centre that and screw that in nicely. Then that is the frame for the door, nicely thus. Now I'm going to make another one of these, pin the fabric to it, then we're going to mount these hinges on here, get it onto the polytunnel itself. Yeah, I think this is going to be good. Well, before I fix the door on the outside, I've got to remove the plastic from here. And before I do that, I just need to fix this along the top to make sure it's secured on here. I've already fixed down the sides on the broken zip area, but I'm just going to pin this along the top. And this will make sure we're weatherproof. Then I'm going to be cutting this around about 150mm down from the top. That'll stay as a loose flap. Then the rest of this plastic will be cut and fitted inside the door frames on the outside. So yeah, I'm sure this is going to be absolutely superb. I know the length, know the measurements, and I've taken a centre here for where I want to place the first of my hinges. Now, need it to be fairly level. So 55 centimetres from either end is the centre. So I've got that marked there. And all I'm now going to do, I'm just going to mark the 4 holes. Excellent, where the screws are going to go. Then I'm just going to take the packet of screws. I'm only going to use 1 screw for this. All I'm going to do is I'm going to use the screw just to pre-drill a little mark where that's got to go. Bring it out. Just to start it off. Lovely. So we've now got those 4 holes nicely marked. Then we can take our hinge, and these are a good solid steel 4-inch butt hinge, and let's just make sure we're going to go into the right section there. We're going to make it into the screwdriver rather than the drill, and then put that first screw into its hole. Now I'll just hold that in place while I get another couple of screws, and this is going to create that first door on the polytunnel, and I'm so looking forward to having this done. Get that nice and square. Centre that up, and in we go. One, two, three, and 4. Now I'm just going to measure off the other end, fit the other hinge on there, and then we'll take this down and we'll fit this onto the polytunnel. My next job before we go outside is actually going to be to trim this back, and basically because it's squares it's quite handy, but we're going to just tidy up the broken zip here, take that off, and I can tidy that down, and I'm going to come across just here. So I need to cut that with the knife here. It's going to be difficult to go through the zip, so we'll come just here, and if I can keep this nice and level, just going along the line of the plastic, hopefully this will cut nicely across here. Lovely. Now what I've got to do is just cut the zip. Not an easy task, the zip being fairly solid, but I'm sure we can get through there. Lovely on that one, and then we'll do the same on this side here. Lovely. And that will form the new door. So as you can now see, loads of weed growing outside here. This is where I've not been able to do much in the garden, but this is a job I'm going to clear over the next couple of days or so. But what you can see now is the space ready for the door here. So my next job is to fix that on. Okay, so the door is here. I've made my marks here for the screws to go in, make life just a little bit easier. And so all I'm going to do is just pop this up with my foot, level that so that I can get the first screw located. I marked all of these earlier, and this will just look at that, that's beautiful. Then I can bring the next hinge back, Oh, that drillbit's fallen out. That's not very clever. Keep that inside. And then I just need to take another screw out. Get one located into the bottom hinge here. And that is going to go there. Hold that with my foot again. And then we pop a screw into there. Then I just want to check that that is going to close over these weeds. Oh, I've got a lot to do to clear this out. But there we go. So why? I've made that a little bit too high. So I just need to lower that slightly. So we'll take this out. My measurements were not that good, were they? Well, now the door's in place, next thing I've got to do, we've got to make sure that the old zip edge is going to line up here. So I've got to just bring that across here and make sure that I can cut the edge at the right place. So then all I've got to do now is follow this line all the way down, but I've got to keep it on the right line. So I'll just keep bringing that upwards. This is going to be hopefully a nice accurate cut. This will give me my first door cover then. And this bottom, which has been on the ground, really doesn't matter because it's all rotted, but it's below the height for the door anyway. That's lovely. Then I can look at starting to pin this onto the door, give myself a little bit of extra flexibility on the side, and that should allow that to open. Fingers crossed. Right, so what I've decided to do, actually to use the zip edge on the fixing edge at the front here, so I'm going to fix that zip right to the edge in here. I'll just put one there, another one a little further down, just to give me some working area. Put one there, one there. Now I'm going to have to trim around the top here, just so that it will come through that fold nicely. And then once I've got the door open, I can then fix this to here. So then it's going to give me that flexibility, which is nice. So I'm going to carry on running this all the way around, trim that, fix it to the top of the door, up here, and yeah, I think we're going to have a pretty good finish to the front of the polytunnel now. Well, that's the first door on, and I've now got to just get my tape measure across this side here, fix the second door, then a Hosmer staple on the front to hold it together, and the front of the polytunnel is repaired and ready to go for another few years. Excellent. Well, there we go. Polytunnel restored. A couple of bits of old gazebo, a couple of bits of old timber, and now we've got two doors. And once I've tidied up outside here, made a nice new access, put a Haspin staple on the front there just to lock it up, we're all good to go. So that's going to be good for another couple of years now, which is really, really useful. I think I've really got to get to do some work down here. This Convolvulus bindweed is coming in and taking over, so I've got to do a lot of clearing on that. But before I even think about that, let me show you the work I'm doing on the old memory garden, which is going to be our new ornamental garden. Well, today I've been making a little bit of a start on what is going to be the new ornamental area of the garden. I've put a new gravel board in along the bottom of this fence and started to lay down some aggregate and level out the surface, and we're going to use some sharp sanded cement and bag some broken sort of crazy paving stones on the top, building it up to different levels so the ornaments would go on there before I start clearing the area behind me for the fire pit. Now, as I'm a little bit short of breath these days, I'm having to do this in sort of 10 to 15 minute spurts and then having a nice 30-minute rest. But hope to get this done over the next couple of days, get this area prepared so that I can start working along, and as this show develops over the next few days, 10 days or so, I should have this bit done. So we'll see over the rest of this show how this is looking. Well, here I'm just playing about with different bits of old stone, different heights, just working out how it's going to look. I don't really want to fix anything down with sand and cement until I've really got it worked out in my mind exactly how I want it to look. But I think I'm getting there. So slowly but surely, this is coming along nicely. Well, it's surprising how warm it can get. Additional foliage off of the tomato plants to allow the last few of these roots to get some sun and maybe go red for me. I'm also going to be picking some more of the cucumbers now, because it's that time of year where we've got to start clearing those. The smaller ones we probably take off and pickle. These larger ones we'll take off. That's a nice looking one. Well, that's my salad sorted for later on today. Now I'm going to go and pick some apples. Well, the apples are not quite ready to pick yet. Just need to give it a gentle twist and it should come off in your hand. But they're not quite ready yet. Hopefully in the next 7 to 10 days they will be. However, the tree is ready for a little bit of cutting and tidying back to control the height. And this particular branch here is going far too high. Now, where we cut the leader out last year, that hasn't grown anymore, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut that right back here to take this. As I said last year, a new one will become the leader, and this one's now got to come out. Well, it's quite unbelievable, really, but this has grown nearly 2 meters up into the air, so I've got to be careful taking this one out, but it's got to come out nice and close to the bottom. So we're going to take this out, and I'll watch my head so it doesn't fall on me. Ooh, it can fall on anyone else but not on me, and that's taken that one nicely out. We'll just have a look around here. That's not too bad, not too bad, but over the side here we've got one. We're going to take this off just above this growth here, and I'll take that away. There's one more over the side here. We're going to just tidy this up where it's growing out over the patio, clean that back. These are actually nice strong branches, and these will bear fruit next year, so we'll leave those, clean that. We've got apples up here. These are all going to be ready to harvest in a week or so's time. Now that's good. Let's go back and have a look at the work that we're doing on the ornamental garden. Well, this ornamental garden is moving in the right direction. One of my lovely neighbours has given me some more broken slabs to start laying this out. As I said, until I get it laid out nicely, I'm not going to use the sand and cement I want to get everything laid out in the order I want it, maybe a little bit higher at the back there, I'm not sure yet. But once I get it all laid out, then I'll fix it properly with the sand and cement, squeeze it in, mortar it in, make it nice. We're making the room now, the fire pit is going to go here, and I'm sure it's going to look amazing once it's done. And then I might even put a couple of lights in just to give it a little bit more. I've got to finish painting these ornaments. They're undercoated but not finished yet. And then we'll have what I think will be a nice pretty little area of the garden. Takes a little bit of time, but it's going to be well worth doing. It's going to sit here on the end of the fruit garden and the mini orchard, and it's just going to be a nice little bright bit of the garden. I'm sure you'll agree. So that's as far as I'm going to get with it in this particular show. But a couple of things I've got to do. I've got to cut down some of the bud here, and I'll just show you what I'm doing there now. As we approach autumn, the winds start picking up, and one of the things I don't want is this buddleia to get damaged by the wind. So I'm going to take it down a fair bit in height, and some of these have gone brown anyway, so we can just take those off. And I want to leave a lot of the purple flowers on here if I can for the butterflies that are still around, but I'm going to take this down considerably at this time of year, and then the wind is not going to come through and cause severe damage. But this is growing a little bit over the bridge at the moment as well, so we need to take it back anyway, and then we can just ratchet this through, and that's, we'll cut that one back as well. So it's going to give me a clearer access through to the bottom of the garden. Now this is the area that I need to sort out, the top of the tree. And bear in mind, this will be taken right down at the early part of next year, so that it'll give it a good chance to grow again. But generally, if we just take out a lot of this top of the tree, that's going to stop the wind damaging it. And I'll carry on doing this the next hour or so, cutting back in and tidying through. But generally, that's it for today's show. So why don't we go back to the top of the garden, have a little chill, nice glass of wine, and we'll tell you what's coming up in the next few months. Well, thank you very much. That's it for today's little show. Got to be honest with you though, this has not been the easiest of years for me, with various health challenges, and it's been a bit of a push to get through, and the garden is nowhere near where I wanted it to be at this time of year. But hopefully health's going to improve, and we're going to get really moving on, and things will be better next year. But the way the garden is growing is absolutely wonderful. The different shapes of the leaves, the colours and the flowers, and it's absolutely stunning. And to be able to sit out here on a lovely evening, particularly with the colours that we get with autumn, where the sun changes, and it's just a beauty to be able to sit in the garden. However, we've got a few things coming up now. Julie and I are going to be going on our little late summer holiday down to Weymouth in a couple of weeks' time, which is going to be lovely. And it's somewhere that Julie's never even been to, Dorset, so she's going to be in for a bit of a treat there. Now, what we've done today, we've shown you that we've actually finished the repairs to the polytunnel. That's something I really wanted to get done, and to have that polytunnel now back in a usable condition for the winter, so I can get various plants in there overwintering and we can be growing some more produce in there as well. So I'm very pleased with that. We've got the harvest nearly finished, but the apples are not quite ready yet. The grapes are not quite ready yet. So various bits and pieces over the next 7 to 10 days should be ready for us, and that's going to be wonderful. Some of the flowers now are just finishing, but others are just coming through because we have our late flowering plants as well. The Virginia creeper that is growing above my head now, we planted that, was that 1 year or 2 years ago? I really can't remember, but we've now got a cascade of floral beauty above our heads. So I've got no real deep concerns about the garden, apart from the fact that I need to get it tidy. So generally very happy. But this year we've seen a lot of progress as well. We've had the ramp installed, and the other thing I've got to do, I've got to take out the small bridge over the stream and put a wider bridge in, and I'll show you how I make that in up and coming shows. Talking of up and coming shows, normally I take a break in January, February time, but I've decided to change that around this year, and I'm going to take a break in November and December, because when it comes to January, that's when I start sowing seeds for next year, and I'd like to share that with you. So we'll take November and December as our rest months this year, and in January next year we'll be back with our planting and our planning and our projects, and we'll look forward to spending another year together. So that's it for today's show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can see the progress that we're making, and the changes that we've gone through over the last few years have been absolutely stupendous. Very significant changes, going from a square patch of grass to the wonderful plants that we have now is just something beyond comprehension. So that just leaves me to say thank you very much for joining me. Stay well, stay safe, be kind, and with a small glass of Cabernet Sauvignon, happy gardening. Cheers.